All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we're asking a question that's been kind of bubbling up in the tennis world, one that feels almost a little crazy to say out loud. We're going to really dig into the argument for a player who's already becoming a legend. Yep, there it is. And no, that's not a typo. This is the big, provocative idea we're going to break down today. Now, I know what you're thinking, but just hang with me for a minute. We're going to look at the stats, the career arc, and just the plain old eye test to see if this statement actually holds water. Okay, so to even have this conversation, we have to be super precise about the words we're using, because this isn't the debate you probably think it is. First things first, we've got to define our terms.
And this is the absolute key. We are not talking about the greatest of all time, the whole GOAT debate. That's a conversation about resumes, about trophies, about dominating for a decade. Alcaraz isn't there yet, obviously. No, this is a different question. We're talking about the best overall player. Who has the most complete toolbox, the most skills, the highest ceiling?
See, the whole argument for best really comes down to this terrifyingly simple idea: the sheer number of ways he can dismantle you. He can pin you 10 feet behind the baseline with a heavy forehand, and on the very next point float a drop shot that dies the second it hits the clay. He just seems to have an answer for everything. So that's the feeling, right? The general vibe. But a vibe isn't enough when you're making a claim this big. You need cold, hard evidence. So now let's get into the actual numbers that build the foundation for this whole argument. You know, you can really boil a tennis match down to three simple things. Can you hold your serve? Can you break your opponent's serve? And what do you do when the pressure is on, when the match is on the line? It's all about the hold, the break, and being clutch. So let's start with pillar one, holding serve. I mean, look at that number, 87.9%. He holds serve almost 9 out of every 10 times he steps to the line, which puts him at number 4 on the entire tour. That is the bedrock of his game. It means he's almost never playing from behind, and he can swing freely. And here's where it gets kind of unfair. You take that elite serve and you pair it with this. He's the second best returner in the game. It's a devastating 1-2 punch. He holds his own serve with no drama, and then bam, all the pressure is immediately right back on you. But this is the separator. This is that third pillar, the clutch gene. The ATP actually has a stat for this called the under pressure rating. It measures how you perform on break points, in tie breaks, in deciding sets, all the nail-biting moments. And for the last year, Carlos Alcaraz is number 1. And as you can see, it's not even close. He isn't just number 1, he's way out in front. But here's the part that'll really blow your mind. He already ranks 3rd all time in this category. His career's just getting started. It tells you everything you need to know. When the match gets tight, he gets better. So those stats, they tell you about the player, but the career tells you about the legacy. And when you zoom out and look at the pace he's on, the argument for him being the best gets even stronger. The speed of his journey is just, well, it's historic. I mean, just look at this trajectory. He's the youngest world number 1 ever. The youngest to win majors on grass, clay, and hard courts. He's already got 7 Grand Slams to his name. Just let that sink in for a second. 7. That comes out to a 35% hit rate. To put it simply, that means for about every 3 majors he plays, he wins one of them. That level of efficiency is just, it's not normal. Especially for someone this early in their career. It's something we really haven't seen before. But a career is more than just stats on a page. We all know that. The real core of a best ever argument has to include the things that stats can't measure. What we actually see on the court. So let's talk about the eye test. This is what we mean when we say a complete player. He's got that feathery touch to end a brutal rally with a drop shot. He's probably the most athletic guy to ever pick up a racket, turning surefire winners against him into his own offense. His endurance is off the charts. The guy's a machine in a 5th set. And that forehand, it's like it has a mind of its own. He can hit it flat, with heavy spin, with a crazy angle, sometimes all on the same rally. And if you want to see this whole package in action, you only need to look at a single tournament, the Qatar Open in Doha. It was the perfect little microcosm of his game, because he didn't just cruise to the title. Oh no, he was tested in every single way you could imagine. So let's just walk through this gauntlet, right? First, he has to outclutch a huge server in a tiebreak. Then, he's down late in a set and has to claw his way back. Next up, a punishing 3-set war that tests his body.
Then he has to face Rublev, who just hits absolute rockets. And Alcaraz just soaked it all up and fired it right back. By the time he got to the final, he'd solved every puzzle they threw at him, and he just completely suffocated his opponent.
Okay, so we've seen the stats, the historic career pace, and the jaw-dropping skills. But to really wrap this whole thing up, we have to put his trajectory up against the most intimidating benchmark you can possibly imagine.
Because you just can't have this conversation in a bubble. Any discussion about best or greatest has to be measured against the modern standard for total domination, and that is, of course, Novak Djokovic.
And this is that standard. Djokovic's 2015 season, it's the stuff of legend. It's the blueprint for dominance. 3 majors, the final of all 4, a record 6 Masters titles. He reached 15 finals in a row. The entire sport basically revolved around him. That is the bar. That is the peak we're comparing Alcaraz's potential to. And that brings us to the most mind-bending, almost scary fact in this whole conversation. Most tennis players hit their prime, their absolute peak, somewhere between 25 and 28 years old. Carlos Alcaraz is only 22. So everything we just talked about, all the stats, the titles, the skills, that's all from a player who hasn't even hit his peak yet.
So we'll leave you with this. Is he the best we've ever seen right at this very moment? Well, that's still up for debate. But maybe the real question, the more exciting one, is this. If this is what we're seeing now, what on earth does the finished product look like? Because that version of Carlos Alcaraz could redefine everything we think we know about tennis.